Morning. Welcome to the Camera Life podcast. This is episode 31, proudly brought to you by Lucky Camera Straps from Bendigo, Victoria. And it's the Thursday here in Victoria. It's Thursday, the 26th of September. I think there's like 95 days till Christmas. 2024. That's scary. Didn't we just have like Easter or something? Coming to you live today on the YouTube at your eyeballs, but don't forget you can also come back and watch any of our episodes at any time you want on demand, and also we're available on audio podcasts for your earballs. Whilst Justin and I, hi Justin, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. While Justin and I are coming to you live from Victoria in Australia, our special guest today, Russell, is coming to us from a terrible location on the back of a winery in the Margaret River of WA. Welcome, Russell Ord.
Thanks for having me, lads.
Good to have you on board. We've been keen to get you on for a while. The name popped up very early in the conversation, and last week we were joined by Jason Lau, who's a commercial photographer shooting with Sony. It's very nice to have a Fuji photographer back finally. We don't get enough Fuji photographers on this show.
I think you've outnumbered them by the look of it.
Sorry?
I think you've outnumbered them by the look of it.
Yeah.
It's all Fuji all the time.
I mean, I organise the guests. I don't know how that happens. But welcome to the show. Russell, you're an ocean photographer. You're a surf photographer. You also do a bunch of other work. You're a Fujifilm ambassador, if I have that correctly. And welcome to the Camera Life podcast. It's great to have you on.
Oh, cheers for having me.
Oh, no, great. We're going to get stuck into your story. There's already a bunch of comments coming in very fast.
Yeah, the people have been excited for this. There's even Grant, who former co-host Grant, who can't be around to listen today, said he was going to pop a heap of questions in the chat, so we'll bring them up later on. But he's got 4 questions straight from the start.
Yeah, he was in there very early.
Yeah, he's got to work though.
So before we have a look at your current work, Russell, take us back to when you first started in photography. What was your inspirations to, when did you first pick up a camera? What was your first experience like?
Oh, I'd love to have some sort of fairy tale sort of story, but I don't. You hear a lot of photographers, their grandfather handed them down an old film camera and it all started from there, or they did art class. But I was just purely a surfer that just got injured and then picked up a camera. Well, a mate gave me his old man's camera and just started shooting them and then just fell in love with it from there. So it was, no fairy tale. I'm more like a jock sports nut than a arty photographer, that's for sure.
Well, I might disagree. We'll show the viewers some of your work later. There's some arty-farty stuff in there, I think.
It sounds like a fairy tale. Sounds like the classic fairy tale story to me. Like a surfer got injured, picked up a camera, next minute published all the famous, and sounds like a perfect fairy tale story.
Took a little while. I started off in the film days, and then I jumped early to digital, and I probably shot film for about 3 or 4 years, and just shot slides. And you're swimming out and taking one shot every 20 minutes if you're lucky. You don't want to be You don't want to be swimming in and swimming back out. And jumped to digital early. Didn't like it, went back to film, and then by the time I did all that and wasted a heap of money, it was back on digital again. So, I wasted a lot of money in those early days.
You went back and forth?
Yeah, just went digital, back to film, back to, I jumped too early. I should have just held off for another year or so.
Yeah. Was it because I think we spoke to Jason about this last week. Was it because you found that the digital resolution just still didn't match film?
Oh, it was more the fact that the magazines I was doing some work with were still only, taking on slides. And, I thought I'd jump, some other photographers did well, like they jumped early and then stuck with it. But so, I still had all the film gear, and it was an easy back and forwards, but, selling and buying and selling, especially back in those days, it seemed like it was pretty bloody expensive, the digital cameras.
Fair enough.
Yeah, wow.
They still are.
Well, depends on which brand you get. Those Fujis are expensive.
Says the like a Q3 boy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so when you switched back to digital, did you start shooting digital on Nikon? Was that the first?
Yeah. Because I had film bodies and just stuck with Nikon because you know how they went and the lenses sort of matched up, so it was pretty easy. So I went from I had an F100, and an F4, and then I can't remember the first Nikon digital.
Did you ever have one of these bad boys? F5?
What's that one? No,
F5.
I didn't go to the F5. Oh,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I love this thing. It's a brick.
Yeah. No, I've got an F4 up there somewhere, but it's no, I think it was just the F4. But like you see, back then you could go through a roll of film in couple of seconds.
Oh yeah, because I think it's 11 or 10 or 11 frames a second or something like that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
expensive.
And so, tell us about with your film camera. I mean, obviously today we have a lot more, I guess, engineering capability in making underwater housings for cameras. Some people could probably even 3D print their own if they were really clever. What was it like back shooting with a film camera? What sort of housing were you using? Like, how were you actually managing that? How would you wind a slide on?
Oh, yeah, it was all like the F100 just wound on automatically anyway, so that was fine. I had I wasn't with Aquatech back then. I was using this water housing guy from California, and it was basically just a tin box. And I think I was shooting. It was pretty good for me because I was just shooting wide all the time because I just love being up close. I just swim out and just shoot fisheye basically because it's just so much enjoyment. So I just preset the focus, so I didn't need to worry about that. I'd preset the aperture, and then I'd manually control the speed because it basically had one dial at the back.
Yep, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a completely different world in terms of the barrier to entry to get a sort of a great surf photo back then versus now. It's it's pretty wild.
Well, you get instant feedback now. You can trial and error, and you can. You can shoot anybody because you're not really wasting film. I was just 36 shots, and some of the swims I would do would take me 25 minutes to get out the back. You don't want to be swimming in and then swimming out again, and then so you'd line up with mate. We've got a lot of great local surfers here, and you wouldn't even take a photo because they're not going to make the magazine because they don't really have stickers. So it's you're just out there working with crew that you're going to be able to at least get it published. I mean, I wasn't like a star photographer or anything, so I wasn't getting film bought me. I was just doing this sort of as a side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And so when did the side hustle become your main hustle? And what was your other hustle before you hustled?
I was a fireman. Yeah, I got in the fire brigade at a pretty early age at 20, which is kind of rare. Like, I didn't actually even want to get in. Like, I was playing rugby league. I was with the Western Reds at that time. And a mate just said, look, go for it. He was in the fire brigade. And then by the time you're 24, 25, ready for a career change or something like that, it'll work out well. And I just sort of snuck through the back door and got in first go. So it was just like, I had to really make a decision what I wanted to do. And, it's a tough game. Like, you can get injured, and sort of went with the career change and went in the fire brigade. Still played rugby league, end up working at the fire brigade for 3 years and then getting a contract for Adelaide Rams in the Super League. Well, it wasn't the Super League. They were just coming back. I mean, this is all sort of foreign to you guys, probably being from Vico. It's all Aussie rules. But I still love the game. And they got kicked out of the comp. When me and my wife now, who was girlfriend back then, we flipped a coin to see what we were going to do, and I went back to the fire brigade. So I had a choice between the fire brigade and maybe going to Queensland to play in the Queensland Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Wow.
What
So, yeah, sorry, I didn't answer your question then.
No,
yeah,
you're
I've
right.
probably been full-time photographer for 13 years, 12 or 13 years. Yeah, so I did 19 years in the fire brigade at the same time doing photography, so it was perfect. And it was like an apprenticeship, real long apprenticeship, and then went full-time when I was like 38. So I'm 50 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Join the club.
Yeah, wow.
That's it's quite
that's
an interesting career.
Yeah, and a great way to kind of build and grow your photography without having to make the jump like straight away. During that time, you were getting published while you were still working as a firey. You were sort of working with magazines and things for surf all through that time, or not all through that time, but sort of
pretty much the whole time. Like the first 5 years in the fire brigade, I didn't even send a shot into the magazine because you can tell you're not up to speed. It was like an apprenticeship.
Okay.
And I sent my first shot in of a guy called Tom Innes at North Point, like swimming massive North Point, and I just knew it was a good shot because it's easy to compare your work to you pick up a magazine. You know you're not up to speed. So it was a good apprenticeship. And, I already had the water background, I already surfed. So it wasn't, that's the hardest part about surf photography, like real surf photography. I mean, being in the water, you got to get used to the ocean, and especially here in Margaret River. This is a different beast over here.
Yeah. Pretty dangerous, right?
Well, I'm out injured at the moment, like just surfing, got hammered into the reef at this outside spot I surf, and I drove my elbow up through my shoulder, dislocated my shoulder and tore off the bicep. And it can do some damage. Wow, and I wasn't even in a bad situation, really. Not what I thought. It turned into one, but just the way it goes.
I have a feeling your definition of a bad situation and my definition of a bad situation is slightly different.
I'd say so. I've done a couple of workshops with crew, and the first question I ask is, how good are you in the ocean?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't even mean anything. And then you go out with them and you're like, geez, it's like 2 foot. Like they're basically drowning. Like, right. They said they were good. This is nearly like kitty fun size.
Nippers.
Yeah.
We call them nippers over here. Might jump to a couple of questions because they're starting to build up. This one came in before we even went live from Grant. Ever had a scary encounter in the water? You just talked about one. You said that it turned scary. Was that because of the extent of the injuries, or you felt a bit panicked with one arm out?
No, it was pretty good. Like it wasn't actually. I just basically, when I hit the reef, the impact was so hard, I instantly thought I broke my arm. So I was underwater, checking for the injury, and then felt my shoulder was like way at the back. Then I'm like, okay, I'm dislocated shoulder. Came up, got one breath, got hit by the next wave, got a double wave hold down. I teach like breath hold training with Shannon Worrell from Shark Eyes. So it's about, I've practiced so much, like keeping calm in those situations. It's not really that difficult. Plus being, my history of being in the fire brigade, you've got to keep calm. Otherwise you'll be in a world of hurt. Especially underwater, if you panic, the breath hold journey is just awful. Like if you're kicking with your big legs and you're trying to get to the top. I just came to the top when it allowed me to get there. Plus I could basically not swim. And then I really just had to breathe through it because it took 45 minutes to get in. And if anyone's dislocated a shoulder, and especially how high, it's just awful. But no, it wasn't really scary. I just knew that I was in a lot of pain, and I was just not another injury. So it was more that.
The disappointment, knowing you're like, now I'm out for a while, and that starts sort of hitting.
Out for a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge, mate.
Our other co-host, You can actually see him. If you can see this comment that we've brought up from Grant, that face that's been pasted over someone else's body, that's actually Jim, our other co-host, who's not here at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
He had a run in on his dirt bike and like snapped his femur, went through the leg and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he's been out it's been over 12 months now, and he's just had another surgery on it. Just recently, which is why he's off the podcast at the moment. So yeah, he's going through that similar thing.
Dangerous, snap femur. You can get internal bleeding. You can pretty dangerous.
Yeah. They airlifted him. It was a pretty rough one, the poor fella. So. Yeah, and I think he was sort of saying recently with, having to go through surgery again, it's just that realization that, you're back out again for a long time, and it's a rough mentally to deal with that.
A lot of your life stops.
Yeah, you've got to be mentally tough with the with everything. I mean, I've done the other shoulder, exact same surgery about 4 years ago, so I've already been out a year, and anyone that plays rugby league, you know how to deal with injuries. You can easily just sit on the couch and just drink yourself to death, basically, or you can just get on with life. I mean, it's not really that difficult in the end when you compare it to other people's. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, a shoulder's not as bad as many other potential injuries.
Yeah.
Perspectives.
Still sucks.
Exactly.
Second question from Grant. What's your favourite lens at the moment?
Oh, the favourite lens at the moment is probably a long lens because I can't actually do much. But in the water, it's always the wider the better, because I just love being like in the action. So I'm basically have gone shooting full-time GFX in the water as well. So it's I've got the 23 mil.
I was going to ask that, and we'll jump around all over the place from story to gear and back and forth. And but that's what I really wanted to find out, because I know you were primarily shooting the X series in the water, even when the earlier when the GFX come out. So you're shooting primarily GFX now in the water.
I've only got GFX now. Like it's, cool. I was doing both. When the GFX came out, I got a housing made straight away. Yeah. Because I'm just in love with the files. And when I'm shooting what I like, textures or waves and stuff, I love shooting, not surfing. I'll use that because I don't really care if I miss a shot. It doesn't matter. If you miss a shot with a pro surfer, they'll probably have a sook for about a week. I'm not really doing that much now, so I can say that. But so I've used the X series if I needed the speed or the frame rate and stuff like that. But now I'm not really shooting that much surfing. And then with the new GFX, I can shoot surfing as well. I mean, I still do it on the other one as well. You just had to do workarounds.
Yeah. Do you find with the new GFX series, the Series 2s that have the faster autofocus, where have you done enough work with them with action to say, how would you compare them to an X series? What X series would you normally shoot with if you were doing action? You don't have many more, but if we're using the XT5 or something like that, or
I had the XH2.
XH2. So how would the new GFX compare to that, do you think, if you had to say for autofocus? Are they close, or is there still a big gap there? Or
there's still a gap.
Still a gap.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm only comparing the GFX to the first GFX. So huge
big jump forward.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Big jump forward, but still not quite to something like the XH2, which is their fastest sort of sports camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, and the frame rate, and it's pretty good, but it's just so much gear, you've got 2 lots of gear. It's most of the work I do is more like for the gallery or commercial work now. So I don't really need the speed. And if I do need it, I can still get it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. We'll come back to your gear a bit more later on. Third question from Grant. It's the Grant Fleming Show, everybody. Favorite time to shoot? You said you're an early riser.
Yeah, definitely the half an hour before sun, and then, half an hour after, and you can do that in the afternoon as well. If I could just shoot those times in the water, that's all I'd do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
nice. I mean, it's good too because you've got a lot of, if you're shooting for yourself and you're going to a certain spot and it's quite secluded, you're out there on your own. It's a beautiful feeling. You know, all your senses are quite heightened actually, especially around here. Like you're swimming out. Depends how far you swim out. You're like, you can hear everything, feel and hear everything.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It sounds like the dream. Just get out there in the middle of nowhere and just surrounded by the water and take it all in.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling. I mean, it's not even really the camera; it's just the water for me. Like I'm trying to go really heavy on the rehab at the moment. So I've been doing my 10, 15 minutes rehabbing boardies in the ocean, and it's just such a good feeling. Yeah, the camera's just a bonus. The surfboard's just a bonus. You just need to get wet.
Yeah.
Nice. And the last question here from Grant is, who's your favourite surfer at the moment?
Oh, favourite surfer at the moment.
Without causing any conflict.
No, it's like I've never really even thought about it. What to watch or to like? I worked most of my career. I've just worked with underground surfers that chase crazy waves. Not really done the pro scene. I mean, they're pros, but they're not like doing the world tour or anything. So you know, you just want to travel with guys that nothing's an issue. Like if you don't get waves, that they don't complain. You know, they can find other things to do because that's what surf is like. You know, you could do a trip and just get skunked, completely skunked. So you know, like the Paul Morgans, and Brett Bircher, they're all East Coast guys. Justin Allport, they're all really good to travel with. Funny, and you know, there's no surf. It doesn't matter. Like let's go do something else. So it was, you know, you kind of, if you travel with no expectations, you can't get let down.
Yeah. Yeah. The vibe and creativity of the crew leads to the better results image wise, rather than everyone being tense and
yeah. I mean, they can all
expectations.
The surf is the easy part. It's just like when you're not surfing, you just want that, like you said, the good vibes.
Yeah, very cool.
And is it Tony? Justin, get off my digital lawn.
Yeah, Tony exposing my limited knowledge on ball sports in the comments.
One less coffee for you tomorrow, Grant. No, I think it's good. It's good to get questions, even if they are at 6 a.m. Okay, so we mentioned earlier about your GFX experience. At what point did you talked about going from film to digital, back to film, and then you jumped into, because you already had lenses, you jumped into Nikon. At what point did you move over to Fujifilm, the best brand in the world?
Yeah, it was weird. I got a call from, like, what happened was I think I got an XT1, like a little point and shoot, and I put a pancake on it, and I just wanted that to, like, a back pocket camera, because you know all the Nikons that I was using were all quite, like, the D4s. You know, you're traveling with them, it's quite big, and just wanted something point and shoot. And I took a shot when I went out to this slab. It was actually in the front of the jet ski, and I just took a couple of shots. And the camera electronics here sent that to Fuji, and then I was just about to launch a ski, and I got this call. It said, "Oh, we're launching," but you know how they can't tell you, but it was the XT2 back then. We're launching the XT2. Would you like to trial it out and do a campaign shooting surf with it? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I mean, I was kind of in the talks with Nikon, but when you're with Nikon, there's no point talking to them. You're already using Nikon. Like, their whole theory back then was converting white lenses to black lenses. I mean, it's not rocket science. Like, and you can see the point. Like, I was already using Nikon, so I don't need to be a Nikon shooter. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. I did that, and just felt the community. And then they said I wanted to do something else, and I just jumped ship. I saw the opportunity, so I jumped ship then. And I wouldn't say it was, the Nikons were better for sure back then. It was definitely workarounds. I had to work around a lot of things, but I just knew no one was using Fuji in the water. Not that I knew of. It was either I don't even think Sony was out there. It was just Nikon or Canon. There wouldn't be anything else. And they're all on that, and they're all sort of fighting for scraps. Whereas I just went, and that's an opportunity. I've just got like a personal relationship now, and then jump ship then. So I don't know when the XT2 come out. So it was probably about a year, or not a year, maybe 6 months prior to that. And then I just sold the gear and went with it.
So obviously, because it's a far inferior camera brand, Fuji. You said there are a lot of. I'm just kidding. There are a lot of workarounds. We're working with these. It's a newer system at that point, and maybe a little bit more difficult in the water than Nikon. Was that part of the fun? Did you enjoy the workaround aspect of it? And sort of, was it a renewed sense of creativity because you're trying to use a tool that other people haven't used for that purpose yet? And so you were kind of spearheading this new thing. Did that help reignite some creativity in your work?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to be able, if you're holding down the trigger, it's not really that exciting. I mean, you had to do a lot of workarounds. But they're good to figure out. I'll give you an example. Like when the XT2, when it came out and I got a housing done for it, you couldn't change the aperture because the aperture's on the lens. So you're basically just thinking what I want to shoot. If I'm shooting wide, it doesn't matter. I have it at like 7.1 or f8 anyway, and I could do the speed. And that took me back to the film days where I only had one button anyway, so it didn't matter. But then if you want to do creative stuff and you're shooting in the morning and you're doing that, it got a lot more difficult. But from that XT2, I went to Japan and they did they did a launch there, and I got invited to go over, and I was in a meeting with them, and they're unbelievable, Fuji, like this. You're in a meeting with the who's who of the designers, and they're like, how can you make this better? And I'm like, I'm kind of pretty relaxed with it. I'm like, well, I can just shoot with. You can basically, even if your camera only shoots 1 a second, just press the button at the right time. Get it right. I was like, I'd love to be able to change the aperture. Because you can't do it on the camera. I don't even know if Aquatech could come up with something to even do that. And they're like, we can change that for you. And I'm like, what do you mean you can change it? And they're like, yeah, we can make it auto, or be able to do it on the camera with a dial.
Yeah, with a dial.
Like, how would you even do that?
Yeah.
And then it came out. I mean, it's not because of me. It's probably other photographers, but it firstly came out, I think, on the XH1, where you could put the lens on basically auto, but then tell the camera that you're going to be changing it manually on the camera.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But now that you think about it, because it's been done, obviously you're like, oh yeah, they would just use the same setting, that auto setting, and then obviously then just have to program the camera to accept the input off one of the dials or whatever. But yeah, it's also, isn't it wild that no one had run into that issue? So no one, potentially, maybe some other photographers, but hadn't really mentioned it before that point.
They probably didn't need it. Like, you can just, if it's not in a housing, you don't have to really worry about it. But it's crazy that they could even do that.
I'm going to clip this part of the podcast and put it on YouTube titled Russell Ord redesigns Fujifilm cameras, something like that.
That's the only thing I can probably claim, I'd say. But yeah, it's, I just being in with the team and them doing that, and they listen, it feels quite good.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a cool, to take that input directly from people using the product. I'm sure other brands probably do it as well, but you would imagine there'd be a lot of levels between photographers and engineers, maybe in some of the bigger brands. I don't know.
Yeah, because I can't shoot I do everything manually, especially in the surf, because the surf, you could probably get away with a lot of things in the street, having aperture priority or speed priority or whatever it is, or something on auto. But in the surf, it's just, you got the deep blues, and then you got the bright white. So it's like shooting in the snow. It's going to trick your camera.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility of doing what I want in the end was great.
So cool.
It's quite an interesting point you raised there, Russell, because, I'm a street photographer and a travel photographer mostly. I dabble in other stuff, but you take for granted, once your camera, changing settings becomes second nature, that you can do it in your sleep. You take for granted just how easy it is. And I shoot manual like you. I dial in the light and the speed that I want and the aperture, and it changes depending on where I am in the street, whether I'm in a dark alley or out in bright light. But you take for granted having a lot of that freedom maybe taken away from you, not only by a housing, but also by the fact that you're trying to stay alive while you're floating in the ocean. Hats off to you. It's a remarkable feat of, and you mentioned earlier that you don't consider yourself an artist. You shoot for you've always been more of an action photographer, but really there is a lot to say about the capacity to create your images as art while doing such a potentially dangerous thing. There's a lot to be said.
I feel like I'm doing a lot better now, as I feel like I nearly call myself an artist. But definitely it took a long time, because I just felt like I was really good in the water, and the camera was just an extension of that. Yeah. So it's like the ocean's doing it for you, the surf is doing it for you. You're there to capture certain images for a magazine, and the art in the whole thing was just being really good in the water. But now I'm just looking for different things. I have been for years, and I love that type of photography.
Yeah. Yeah, no, amazing. Now, GFX, Fujifilm recently, a few months ago now, released the GFX 100S Mark II and the new 500, GF 500 5.6. You were a part of that program, weren't you?
Yeah, I was lucky. I've been hanging in there with Fuji, because they have made a few changes. So I think it was just, I love that lens. It's so good. Like, to be able to shoot from, because basically prior to that, I had the 250mm, and I'd put a converter, and the GFX is so, and then I'd crop a little bit in, because you can, because the files are so good. But having that lens has just opened up a whole new world. So yeah, I loved it. It was good. I mean, and with the new camera, it was like, I would prior, like I've said it at Fuji, I would never even have it on continuous focus like the GFX, the first ones. I just feel like it was a waste of time. It was quicker for me to feather the focus with my finger on single focus than have it on continuous, because it would just hit and miss. But yeah, huge step up for it's quite impressive how where they went with the GFX. It's crazy. It was, I mean, it's still, even if it came out the same, I wouldn't have upgraded, because it's still the same file sizes. I don't really care if it's only 1 or 2 shots a second, and I can still feather the focus. I shot heaps of surfing on it. But yeah, it's definitely a lot nicer when it makes it a touch easier, because you got a lot of things to think about when you're in the water. It's just a different form of photography.
Yeah.
What
I think
does
I got sent a review copy of the GFX 100S Mark II and the 500, and I'm a street photographer, so I took it to the local skate park. I mean, it's nothing like what you were doing with yours, but I found it interesting, the difference in focus performance between the X series and the GFX. There was definitely, and I had the XT50 at the same time, which is, really fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fascinating shooting with that massive lens. Like I was having to sort of get up and walk several steps away. to get anything within that, that minimal focus distance. It's,
yeah. And I mean, a lot of people have reached out since the camera, and like, I just ask what they shoot. Like, they're like, oh, I'm going to upgrade. Do you think I should upgrade to this? And I'm pretty honest with it. I'm like, well, what are you shooting? And they're like, oh, I'm shooting architecture. I'm like, why bother? Like you don't need to. They're still beautiful files, the same files. And if you're shooting birds or you're shooting wildlife, there's definitely upgrades or things that move. I'd upgrade for sure. But people they just sort of fall into I'm going to be a better photographer because the camera's better. Like it doesn't. You still need to swim into the right locations. I don't care if your camera shoots 30 shots a second. It's not going to help you unless you can get into the spot. Or I'm just talking my form of photography, but it's
I think it's a good point because we've all suffered from gas and FOMO in the past, and for those of you listening at home, gas is gear acquisition syndrome and FOMO is fear of missing out. We've all suffered that. Justin is still in his puberty years of gas.
Please.
How many cameras have you got, mate? How many cameras?
Yeah. How many have I not bought is the better question, Greg, and that's a lot. Yeah.
Glass half full kind of guy.
That's right. Hey, I've had this exact conversation with quite a few people about the R5 and the R5 Mark II. It's almost identical in the sense that the new Canon R5 Mark II is amazing, but if you're shooting landscapes, the original R5 will be as good, if not slightly better. Same with for many of the styles of photography, it's not needed to upgrade at all because the image quality, there's no image quality upgrade.
What's
essentially,
the upgrade?
It's a lot faster in electronic shutter. So you can shoot without getting. You can use the electronic shutter at faster sort of frame rates and get what's it called?
Blackout.
No. Warping. What's it called? Rolling shutter. Like balls and things like that can become distorted. So it handles that a lot better. Autofocus is far improved for sports. Like I shoot a lot of mountain biking. Massive noticeable difference and quite a few upgrades in the video side of it as well. So if you're shooting hybrid photo video, it's an upgrade. If you're shooting sports, it's an upgrade. If you're shooting landscapes, not needed. If you were shooting portraits, slightly better autofocus, but really for like family portraits and stuff like that, any modern camera is keeping up with it, no problem. Even weddings, it's like, if you're shooting 50 plus weddings a year and these are tools of the trade, why not upgrade? But if not, the original R5 would be just as good. So it's like it just depends on. You don't need the new camera, and I completely agree with what you're saying. It depends on the application, but most of the time, that sort of automatic urge to upgrade should be squished for a little while if possible.
Yeah,
you want to see a proper upgrade, and it's got to, you got to justify the purchase with what you're shooting.
Yeah,
and it's not going to make you a better photographer.
No, not at all.
No,
and it's about what you said about you've got to be in the water, and it's the same with I think any genre, and I apply this with my work is that you've just got to be present. You've got to be there to see the moment. If you're not there, well, the opportunity's missed. And if you're spending all your time worrying about your camera settings or what lens and hunting around in your camera bag, you're missing more light. You're missing more shots and moments. So be present with what you've got and use it until it's no longer serving you well. Don't upgrade just because.
That's the other thing. Like you say, it's knowing your camera back to front so that you don't miss shots. If you change your cameras too often, you sort of don't. I mean, they're quite similar these days, each iteration, but still little changes and stuff like that. And that's why I used to. It's bugging me now. Canon cameras now don't come with manuals. I used to read every camera I got. I used to read the manual. I don't know if I was the only one, but I would read it like start to finish because then when something popped up that I hadn't seen before, in my head I'd be like, oh, that was that thing I read about that I didn't understand at the time or whatever. It's, I used to do that every time.
I think you might be the ultimate camera nerd.
I'm trying. Thanks, Greg.
I've got a new level of respect for you, mate.
I appreciate it.
Well, any step up is good. Let's jump to a couple of comments. One from long-time supporter of the show and past guest, Nev Clark. Morning, Nev. Nev's also in WA, and I can't remember what part of WA he's in.
Albany.
Albany. Yeah, that's right. Are you familiar with Nev?
Yeah, I spoke to him a couple of times. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but yeah, we spoke on like social and stuff like that.
Yeah, lovely bloke. Lovely bloke.
Yeah.
If those of you watching along at home, our podcast with Nev was one of our most popular on the channel. Really interesting story. But Nev said, I love my photography and love the water here too, but haven't combined the two. Your work is amazing, long-time admirer, and he wants that 500mm lens.
Yeah.
Won't make you a better photographer, Nev, but yeah, you do. You need it.
You do.
Oh, yeah, it'll give you that length that you need. It's pretty good, especially if you're shooting the water or whatever. It's nice.
And we'll just jump to this comment, and then we'll bring up some of your work, Russell. Digifrog. Does anyone know who Digifrog is?
No. Who are you, Digifrog?
Who are you? Where are you? What are you? I had SAS, which is strap acquisition syndrome. Oh, that's right up Justin's alley. Last count, I had 34, but 31 not used anymore. Ended up settling on the lucky strap, now to find the ultimate camera bag. Chronic BAS is bad. Yep.
Yeah, I've got bag acquisition syndrome. It's a problem.
Yeah, I just got a new one too. Although that was a freebie.
Appreciate the support, Digifrog.
Yeah, from Tasmania. There you
Beautiful
go.
spot. Tassie.
Yeah. My partner's from Tassie, and we try to go down when we can, and I just love it. I think that's going to be my retirement space. Just go down there and work from there one day.
Nice.
I'm not
good for photography.
Yet. Yeah. Now I want to jump to sharing some of your images. I'm going to jump to your Instagram account first and look at some of your work there before we jump to your gallery stuff.
While you're pulling that up, if no one has seen it before, there's a documentary on Russell. It's pretty cool.
We'll pop it in the
in the show notes. It's called. Well, I've got to find where it's available currently. I don't know where it's.
I think it's on. I think it might be on Vimeo now because ABC had it for a while.
Yeah,
Producer had it on that. Red Bull had it.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I was searching again the other day because I've watched it in a few different spots over the years. It's called One Shot, and it's about 30 minutes long, I think, and it's great. How long ago was that filmed, Russell? Do you remember?
Well, I think we started maybe 8 years ago. I mean, I wasn't looking at doing a documentary. I met Darren on the beach and sort of started chatting to him, and he was working up in the mines. He was just doing little character pieces. That's what he wanted to get into, and he wanted to know what I was doing. I was like, well, I'm just sort of going through a change. I've just started swimming down at the right. That's probably the only thing that's worth shooting maybe, and then it just took off from there.
Yeah, wow. It's super cool documentary. So anyone, we'll put the link when I track it down.
Try and find it.
And set some time aside and watch it. It'll inspire you, and you'll be like, yeah, I want to do ocean photography. And then you'll watch the full thing, and you'll be like, oh no, I don't.
Yeah, I've kind of retired from that sort of stuff now. Like I did have a couple of good goals years ago at different places, but I just can't afford the injuries anymore.
Yeah,
it's
time's catching up, eh?
Not super safe.
Yeah.
I'm just flicking through some of. Sorry for those that are on audio podcasts. We're just flicking through some of Russell's Instagram shots. We will pop the links to his the gallery, which we'll look at in a minute, and his Instagram page in the YouTube comments in the description. But these are absolutely stunning high res, even after being compressed on Instagram. The quality of the contrast is just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, the Instagram, it just doesn't do it. I mean, having a gallery space and being able to blow them up big and people going right up, because they go right up to it and look for detail. That's when you see the difference. Most of the time, you're not going to see much difference. People I get comments and, oh, you must have done this on that, or you must be shooting full. it's all rubbish. Like you can't even see it. Like you can't see the difference at all.
Yeah.
Everyone
on Instagram
on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are working off postage stamp size images, aren't they, on their phones?
That's the thing with gear as well. Like you got to really ask yourself, what is it used for? Like, where is it going? Like you're shooting weddings, and you can crop and get the detail. Yeah, commercial work gives them stuff to do. But if you're shooting for like most of the time for social media or whatever, like Jesus, how much? What do you need?
Yeah.
It's a common theme that comes up on this podcast almost every week, which is what are we actually taking the photos for? Outside of exactly what you just said, if it's work for a client and that sort of stuff, it's a lot easier to make decisions around gear and stuff like that when you've got requirements and paying clients and what they're using it for. But once it gets outside of that into sort of making work that you're proud of, that's the hard part. Is unless you've got a gallery or somewhere to make large prints, it's like what are we doing with these images? Because social media is certainly not the place to show off your photographic abilities.
Not anymore. I mean, the days of Flickr, when Flickr was before Flickr became a porn site. It was.
I'll have to circle back and give it a look.
Before that went kind of dirty. That was the place. And I really liked it because you could go, I want to look at some amazing astrophotography shot through a telescope, and you could find it, and you could see good resolution images. I mean, the load times were crap, but you got to see good resolution. But now it's all just flick and roll. Scroll. And you don't get to appreciate. You get a glimpse, but you don't get to appreciate what people have actually gone through to get those shots. Or see the quality.
I'm testing out that glass thing that I mentioned on the other show. Have you ever heard of glass, Russell?
No, what is it?
It's kind of like a social media site for photography with much higher quality imagery that you can upload a decent quality file. Still obviously gets compressed and stuff. And there's a lot more exploration to be done in there. You can look sort of via different categories and things like that. It's not as algorithmically based. But it's sort of there's no ads, zero ads. You either can get like a free sort of thing, or most people pay a small fee to be part of it, so that there's zero ads. But what the hard thing that I'm finding, because I was hoping to go on there to find some inspiration, is photographers like yourself aren't on there. So it's like there's not the amount of work on there from great photographers yet to where I can really sort of curate a feed of inspiration. That's what I was looking for. Like, where can I go where I can see some great work from 10 to 20 photographers that I really sort of want to follow and see that work in high quality. But it's sort of not there yet. And I don't know, unless they've got the budget that Facebook and Instagram have, I'm worried it might never get there, because without the great photographers on there, it doesn't have that pull, I don't think. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I want to get to talking about displaying work in galleries in just a moment, but we'll just cover off a couple more questions. Jason has rejoined us.
Hey.
Where was Jason again? In the US or in Canada?
No, I thought he was in Melbourne. I don't know.
What's that? It's caddy.
That's what we said last time. No, it's a Triumph.
Oh, the Triumph. Sorry.
Yeah, because we had Jason Lau on, who has a Harley, and he does a lot of motorcycle photography. But they had a good chat. I have strap acquisition syndrome as well. I think I'm up to about 10 or 11 lucky straps.
What?
And a pair of the gloves. Oh,
it's almost as many as me. Yeah, well done.
We love you. Digifrog. Tony asked where Digifrog was located. Hobart, heading to Bright for BFOP again this year. Hope to meet Justin to personally sign my wrist strap.
I'll be there.
Yeah, well,
Greg will
make
be
sure
there.
I'll be there too.
Event, eh? Matt. I've listened to Matt's show. He's a great speaker.
Oh,
good.
Nice.
I've spent a bit of time with him too, because he was on the GFX campaign.
Yeah,
he's a great guy, a real good guy.
Yeah, it was an absolute joy to have him on a couple of weeks ago now. And we talked about his work and his journey and BFOP. Justin and I are heading down to BFOP on the 11th. We're going to be there for the full weekend. We plan on getting immersed in the festival.
We even got business cards made. I haven't had business cards for 9 years, but because of the Bright Photography Festival, this camera, come on, Canon. And don't worry about it. But yeah, they're fancy. They got gold. They got gold on them.
Yeah.
Greg's got his own business card.
Yep. Finally. No, I've got my own.
Finally.
Got to get a bigger wallet. But yeah, we're going to head down there. We don't forget to, if you're going to Bright Festival of Photography and you want to pick up a special edition BFOP Lucky Strap, have you got any to show at the moment?
I do. I'll be back. You guys just talk amongst yourselves.
Shameless self-promotion here for the brand. Yeah, we will be there. And we are currently offering BFOP participants a special branded, embossed BFOP Lucky Camera Strap of your choice. And I think also golden ticket. People that have purchased the golden tickets get a special BFOP strap with gold embossing. Justin's going to show. I'll take this comment off the screen so I can see
if I can get this Canon, this amazing camera
nice.
to focus. It really is
great.
tracking my eyes, and it's not loving the.
Put it across your eye. Yeah.
Look at how well it stays on my face.
Yeah, it's great. It's really working out.
There it is.
Anyway,
that's nice.
That's yours, Greg.
Ah,
And
nice.
then,
Yeah, I chose
we've been
the
doing-
Slim 30 in tan with black embossing.
Oh, it was going.
Is that the gold
that one? That's no, it's a
it's bronze.
copper bronzy
Copper?
kind of color for this person. So, yeah, we've done a few so far, but there's more to be done.
Yep. So yeah, if you are heading down to BFOP, head to the Lucky Strap site. How do people order the special strap?
You just use the code. Well, hang on, it's a secret code only for. What if some people on here aren't going to the festival? Oh well, they'll end up with a strap with a logo on it. BFOP 2024 is the code, and then you will get that logo on your strap, and you will get a discount too.
Yep. But if you put the code in, the Lucky Straps customer service team will be in touch to ask what color foil fill you want on your embossing.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself something weird for the 70s night, Greg. Some sort of weird camera strap.
Wear? Oh, weird
camera
strap. Are you going to wear
like
the strap?
And some other stuff, probably.
Okay.
Not just the strap.
Good. So, yeah, for those of you that do order the Lucky Strap BFOP edition, we'll be bringing them with us to the weekend, and they'll be available at BFOP HQ. And hello to Matt. I know that he's been frantic, making sure the website doesn't fall apart in preparation for tomorrow's going live at 9 a.m. AEST. I think Justin and I might even jump on a live video.
Go live and try and book in our workshops.
Book in our workshops.
They'll have to try and get you over 1 year. Russell, you can do it. So it is a very BFOP thing to do if it was like surf photography in a pool or something like that.
Yeah.
Just
locked in, right?
It's always difficult with the insurance with when you add water.
That's a good point.
Oh yeah,
that's a very good point.
Can imagine. Another comment here from Nev towards you, Russell. I appreciated the advice, mate. It helped massively. I was so torn whether to fully commit to GFX. I'm glad I did. I know it's not all about the camera, but the upgrade has been great. And the right is scary.
I need to be on some sort of percentage at Fuji. It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, that'd be good. It's
I might lose money though if when I give people advice not to get it.
Yeah,
because they've already got one, and stuff like that. Like we just chatted about. Yeah,
that's the thing, though. Brands have got to be open to that. They got to be cool with it, because as soon as you stop doing stuff like that, people stop trusting your opinion. If you constantly just say, "Hey, buy the new bestest camera," your opinion becomes sort of worthless then. So I think if brands recognise that, that honesty from their ambassadors is the best thing they could possibly have.
Yeah. Yeah, I spoke to a guy the other day, and I talked him out of the GFX because he had one, and he ended up buying two of those new tilt shift lenses. So he still spent a bit of money, but so he went. But that's what he shoots. So
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they're masterful. I picked one up in Ted's camera store in Melbourne, and they're just phenomenal piece of engineering. Like you could hammer in nails with them.
What's
Yeah,
this?
they
The
got some
tilt shifts.
The tilt shift lenses, yeah, they're just phenomenal. They're beasts. Another comment here. Sorry to hear about the shoulder, Russ. Have to catch up for a bite when the restaurant near your gallery opens.
Yeah,
That's from David Deer Parker.
Yeah, do you know David? Incredible
No.
photographer. Yeah, he's got some incredible stories, especially from war-torn countries.
I think
wow.
he bought a camera strap off us the other week. Yes, and I've hit him up to say come on the podcast because he emailed me. Yeah, he emailed me about something. I was like, says I am a Nikon ambassador. That's interesting. So I went to his website and I was like, holy moly, this guy is awesome. So yeah right.
Yeah. Oh, David, please get in touch and join us on the show.
I've heard him speak a few times. He's a great talker, and his stories are unbelievable.
Yeah, we'll definitely be getting him on. I've got him sitting here in the email, but I need to get back to him because he emailed me 9 days ago and I haven't replied because I'm a terrible person.
Terrible.
Sorry, David.
Just responding, honestly.
I really am. Just let the world know that now. If you email me and I don't respond, just email me again. Sometimes things get hectic.
You'll get to it. And David finished off with PS stunning images as always to Russell. Tony, tell Justin I said that you can have some lucky merch. Tony is the discount code.
We will have some lucky merch over at BFOP if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I've got
the black with the charcoal Lucky Stripes logo. Yeah. I love it.
If you want a hoodie or a t-shirt, Russ, let us know.
Black's good, especially on a winery when you're drinking red wine. White's not that good.
Yeah, this is like a podcast only jumper. It's lucky it's made it this far that I haven't spilled coffee on it. But yeah, most of the time it's black on black for me.
Yeah.
A little bit more from Nev. I didn't fully appreciate the GFX until I saw my work on a local billboard. It was for the local leisure and aquatic centre. I'll have to go check out Glass. Yeah, please do. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know, Nev.
And Nev finished up with, and that's why I reached out to you directly, Russell. Obviously, I wanted the real oil, not the ad oil, so to speak, and it was appreciated. So nice. Speaking of displaying stuff, you currently have a gallery, and it's not just an online gallery; it's an actual proper gallery. We'll get to having a look at it, some of your images that are online in just a minute. But tell us about what the move was like to go from selling work to magazines, to deciding to open your own gallery. Tell us about, because a lot of photographers, I guess, and I've even thought about doing exhibitions, and I never have done one, mostly because of imposter syndrome. But, a lot of photographers want to display their work in some way, and it goes back to that question of, what are we taking photos for? And you've taken that to the ultimate, I think, the pinnacle of that question of, you've got your own gallery, you're displaying your own work, you're showing it to people at a scale that the work deserves, and people appreciate seeing that detail in, properly framed in glass, the best way to see it, I think, photography. Tell us about your transition to that.
Well, it's always my dream, especially when that's why I jumped on the GFX bandwagon. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it, to be able to print big, like on scale, not quite to scale, but that was the dream. And really, the gallery is more, it was a glorified office at the start. Like, it's at the time, I'm on Edwards Winery. They were doing a new build and they had this old shed, and Christo, the guy that runs the vineyard, the winemaker, I surfed with him. He's like, oh, they were trying to convert this old shed into something. He said, do you want to do a gallery? And I was like, no, I don't want to do a gallery. Like, it wasn't going to, for me, it wasn't going to work. And then just after speaking to him, and then at the time I was living on like a bush block, a pretty small house in Margs, and we needed an office. So they said, yeah, we'll build you a couple of offices inside the gallery. And so we went for it. And I'm glad we did in the end. It is nice seeing your work printed on scale, because other than that, you know, you do the usual thing. People have it in cafes or restaurants. It's not. It just gets damaged. Like it's you might sell one in a blue moon,
And it's an afterthought for people there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But so the glorified office has now turned into a gallery, which is good. And you know, I've still got my office here, which is nice. So you can leave work. I mean, you should leave work at work and don't bring it home. But I mean, we still do a bit of work at home. And then, we just sort of, me and my wife share being in here. She probably works more than I do in here. But yeah, we're just trying to make it work where you can employ someone else. And we've just done a different, renamed it to Flow Gallery. So if you click on the gallery bit on that portfolio, that's just my website. Because I just don't really like making it about myself. We got convinced to put it under my name, but I want to have exhibitions for crew. I want to make it a real place where, you know, people can come and see different types of work as well. Like it's definitely ocean heavy because it's all my photography at the moment, but we've got a restaurant getting built. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
And your pottery is wonderful. You're so multi-talented.
It would have been good. Yeah. So we've got other artists in, and it's just beautiful. So you can see that's the shed.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm basically at the back there. It's good. So it is a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful property. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if it doesn't work, I can just go to the restaurant and clean dishes. So it's all good.
Yeah. It's always good to have a backup. It's always good to have a backup in this gig.
When it comes to your business now, Russell, how does it work in terms of your
how do we survive?
Yeah, like making a living, roughly what's the sort of the breakdown in terms of you're still doing commercial work? How much of that do you do? How much do you sell a lot of work through the gallery? How does it all come together to support your life, I guess?
Well, when I left the fire brigade, I was never going to. At that time, I was probably still shooting a few weddings, quite a few, so I could easily substitute that income. And then I'm not really doing that anymore either. So it's just, I didn't leave the fire brigade to make 150 grand or whatever I was on at the fire brigade with overtime in photography. I left for other reasons, and I've just sort of evolved. I was doing a lot of commercial work, and now I've got a foundation called Desert Light Foundation. So I'm in a number of schools where I'm working with kids that would never have that opportunity to even pick up a camera. So that's the main focus, and that's what I'd love to do. Like I fell into it. I wasn't, normally I'll evolve. I'll see something happening, like the mags are starting to thin back, and I'll start transitioning early, because you need to do it in photography or you're going to die a pretty quick death. And I was up north working for a friend called Quinn Beardman. He's got a foundation. Well, back then it was called Boudoir, and now it's called Grassroots Music. So he had a beautiful life in Margaret River. It's a pretty cruisy life here. And then moved his whole family up north to teach in one school, to bring the kids in, to basically entice the kids to come to school, like play guitar, beat the drums, play the didgeridoo, all that sort of stuff. And it was amazing. So he, out of the blue, I get this call from him. This is, I'm saying, probably about 10 or 11 years ago now. Can you come up and document what we're doing? I was probably the only photographer he knew, really. I just got lucky. And so I flew up, and what happened was I end up, like, I call them stragglers. You'll get one kid that doesn't want to play, and he was just sitting in the corner. So I'm like, do you want to help me take photos? And I give them a camera. I kind of force them into it, really. And now they're part of the community of the kids, even though they can't play music. And so that's why they're sitting out, or they're not good on the basketball court. And I end up watching the kid take shots, and he was getting shots I couldn't do, because the kids started being kids around him. like with me, I'm, you know, a grown adult with a big camera, and they're sort of like a little bit skeptical on what to do. You give the kid to one of them, the camera to one of the mates, and all of a sudden they're just being kids again. They're just acting up, and he's getting all these great shots. And I was just teaching him a bit of photography on the side. And this went on for quite a number of years, and he grew quite, he ended up being quite a few schools, and I was doing all his content and loving it. And then I think about, would have been 2 or 3 years ago, I said to him, look, have you ever thought about introducing the arts or photography into the program? Because I'm really enjoying doing this, and I could do this like full time. And he's like, I'll think about it. And then him and his wife sort of just came back and said, look, why don't you do your own foundation? We'll give you a hand to get it up and running, still be in the schools that he's in. And without them, I wouldn't be where we are today. And so now we're in 4 or 5 schools. And yeah, one of the schools last week had an exhibition. They all saw their work in print for the first time. Yeah. And it was amazing. And these kids are 11. And so this group I had for a year. And yeah, the work was, it's just amazing to see. It just brings joy to them. Yeah. Like, and then it was funny because we went there for the opening, obviously, to the school, and they had they had 2 big prints, one on display, 4 or 5 smaller ones, and then they had another big print. They were doing silent auctions, and they were trying to bring in money to the school to, you know, do another, like a content room or a computer room, whatever it is for. And I get there, and most of the kids came up to me and said, God, I hope no one bids on my work. I'm taking this home. I'm taking this home. Like, I said, look, we're trying to raise money for the school here. And it's, yeah, it was good. It was good for the kids too. So we try. It's definitely evolved, and my wife does an amazing job. She does all the back end. She comes to all the schools with us, so we get to work as a team. I mean, she's not like a photographer, but basically, you're giving the kids a camera. You start with autofocus, or even turning it on and off. Just put it on auto and making it fun, like having a game. How to get this flower into focus. That's it. Yeah. And then is
that what it involves? Your hands on site at the school, you show up with a bunch of cameras?
Yep.
A bunch of gear and
the whole case of gear. We're trying to leave cameras at the school now because I'm there, you know, there all the time. So it's so they've got cameras because they get to a level where they can shoot, you know, the kids' portraits, or like for graduation, or they go to an event, or they go on an excursion. That's where you want to get these kids to a level to shoot. And, you know, they're creating, their client is the school. So they're creating content for the school's social media or whatever. So it's pretty good. And it's pretty raw. Like, I am pretty raw with it. And it's just still evolving. Yeah. We've only just started at a school where you're with young adults now, like 16, 17-year-olds. So it's a different challenge again. Like, you know, they're going to get bored with the autofocus real quick. And so I'm learning on the go too. Like, it was good listening to Matt, you know, because he's running workshops, and, you know, otherwise I just have like, hey, this is a camera set to manual. Like, it's not like that. It's like, you know, here's the camera. Let's just go and have fun. We play this game where right at the start, we go on the basketball court, and we're not allowed to look at what everyone else is doing, and we compare shots. And right at the start, they all walk up to the free throw line and they take a shot of the hoop. And I always do the same thing. I go under, I lie on the ground, and I shoot up. And I'm like, and then they start thinking about how they're going to do things. And it's awesome. And then you'll get the occasional, you know, kid that will just blow your mind. Like, you're like, crikey, I didn't even think of that. That's good. Like, he's already thinking it, you know, even to shoot the camera in portrait mode. Like, they'll never even think about it. You'll get one kid that'll go and shoot through like a hole in the bush and shoot portrait mode just instantly. Like, he's already got a good eye. He or she's got a good eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's super rewarding. I'm learning a lot. A lot of the kids are different cultures. You know, I'm learning a little bit of language as well. So it's, but it's for every kid. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's really
And what was
good.
the name of the foundation again?
Desert Light Foundation. I might have it on the bottom of my website where it'll go. And the Desert Light is just because that's where we basically come up with the idea. I was up in the desert with Quinn, and you know, Desert Light, like it's just beautiful light. It's all about the light. So it's it's really good.
We'll pop that in the show notes for people to have a look at.
It's we're pretty lucky. I never saw myself doing this. Like you just think the commercial work, and it's so nice not having to sort of fight for work either.
Yeah.
I just get up, go to the school, work with the kids. They can put your own life into perspective. You're always learning something, and then come home and they get a lot of joy out of it. So after they don't know who you are. Like they don't have a clue. Like I was at one school for quite a while, and even the teacher like went, geez, I didn't realise you shoot that sort of stuff. And I've been going there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about them.
It's about the kids,
It's so good.
And
you might change one kid's life. Like some of these kids, if you like, we're talking about the shoulder injury before, you just that's not hardship. Like not at all. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough start to life for some.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's making worlds of difference, especially given that they're all shooting with Fujifilm cameras. That was a cheap trick.
I will give Fuji a big shout out for they have been looking after us for that sort of stuff. It's been really good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
And they don't want. You got to be careful. Like you're working with kids. You don't want to be exploiting them there at any way.
Yeah.
Like just being given the gear or certain amount of gear per year without anything in return is quite crazy for a brand. Normally there's some sort of exchange. Oh, can we get a shot of the kids using this gear? No.
Yeah.
Give me your best price without the expectations, and working closely with Fuji with that has been awesome. Obviously we need to promote it in some sort of way, but it's so good. Just like give us the cameras, whatever comes from it comes from it.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's wonderful. Very, very cool. So you've got the gallery, you're about to open a restaurant. Is that part of the winery / gallery, or is that your undertaking?
No way. That's, I'm a photographer, not a drug dealer. Like this thing's crazy. It's huge. Like, I'm in the shed and that I'm in my space, but we all sort of work together. Like I'll shoot a bit of brand work for the winery. The owners of the winery are just amazing. And so it's theirs, it's their property. They're doing the restaurant, and they've got the cellar door and stuff like that. And I'm just sort of a tag along, but it's just nice because, there's a lot of wineries here in Margaret River. It's a difference when you can come to a winery and then there's a gallery with it as well. Yeah. So there's a difference there. And now with the restaurant, it should be good. So hopefully like I said, I might be out there washing dishes for a free feed.
Yeah. I was going to say, why would you go home? You've got a winery, you've got your office, a gallery, you just need a cot and you're good.
Yeah, you can easily do that. There's plenty of room.
Yeah.
Well, if I remember correctly, for a period of time, Russell, you lived in a rooftop tent while traveling around NZ.
NZ, yeah.
So
we had a double rooftop tent. I had me, my wife, and daughter in one, and my son sleep in the other one on his own. Like she was pretty cozy, pretty cold at times too.
You should have seen this setup, Greg. It was wild. Yeah, 2 rooftop tents on top of it. What sort of vehicle was it?
Hilux.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was like we were meant to. That was. Oh, it's a long story, but we were going to New Zealand and we were meant to get on a boat, and it didn't happen. So we just went, okay, let's just go around New Zealand and see if we can. I sold up everything here. Like I was in a pretty good space here, like shooting a lot of weddings. had a really good business. I was probably back then, I was still in the fire brigade, double income. I probably wasn't being the best dad because I was always working, but sold up everything and it didn't turn out. But so we just went around New Zealand, rooftop tent. We got a couple of gigs with camper vans. That was like, that was just like going first class. It was so nice.
Yeah.
We just stop and sleep without having to set up. It's and this was all before it became, people were still doing it, but it wasn't like COVID times. Every man, his dog ended up becoming some sort of these travelers that had to document what they did. We didn't document it. I was just working where I could, trying to make a living from photography. It was good.
Digital nomads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow, like, and subscribe.
Yeah, influencers now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
I think traveling with your kids, I think that's, especially in that sort of scenario, there's so much about life in the world that they learn from those experiences as well.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. Like, we homeschooled. Like, we left one son here because he was doing year 12. We left him with friends, so he did that, and we had the other two. So it was a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
One wanted to go.
How long?
Over a year.
Man.
Year and a half maybe. It wasn't all like in the rooftop tent thing. Like, it was a mixed bag of everything. Because I really wanted to make it work because my wife's from New Zealand. So I wanted to make it, and I'm pretty stubborn. I should have, after 3 or 4 months, this is not going to work. But I think everything can work, and we just sort of survive for a while. You get good at, as a photographer, on how to make something out of nothing, though. Yeah, it's a good challenge because you're a nobody. No one knows you. You haven't got your usual clients. You've got nothing. You're starting. It's like you're starting fresh.
Yeah. So it's sink or swim.
Definitely.
Quite literally.
And there's no income coming in. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And over a year, that's impressive. And then
it's a long time.
And then you would have come back and sort of then had to restart business. In WA, almost from the beginning almost.
Yeah, no fire brigade, no anything. Like, had to. Obviously, it was a bit easy coming back here, but like, what weddings is like. You get booked a year in advance, or so you've got no income with that. But what I learned on the road was I can always make money for photography. I know how to make money. Well, know how to get by, and I could do it now. But people are like, it's all about the people and personal relationships for me, not like how good you are on social media.
Yeah.
Photography is a service. So this is what I learned in New Zealand. It's a service. So you're competing with everyone else that provides a service. How do I change that? So then I just made a product. That's the end result of photography. And that might be like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'd walk into a brewery, I'd look at their website and I know I could shoot, it was average. Like, you don't look at a winery website and it's already amazing. You're probably not going to change their mind. So you look at where you're going and you go in and say, look, I want to do a story on the brewer. And that's it. Like, I'm working for this magazine, some online magazine, doesn't even matter. And then I would create a product. I would get personal with them. Like, I'm always talking about them. Communication's key. And then after an hour shoot, you've formed a relationship. Well, hopefully you have. And they might get you back in, but you've also formulated a product. Now you've got shots. So if they're comparing my work with yours, Justin, you've made a service, but now they've already seen the finished product from me. And then I would sell them a business package. And then they would end up being a client. So I end up getting all these clients by just dropping in. It was amazing. Like, and I just figured out, and it's a skill too. Like, it's a different skill.
Yeah. So is that, there's a lot of talk at the moment about from every angle about, photography being dead or you're not being able to make money in 2024. Every second YouTube video at the moment seems to be something like that I'm seeing from photographers. That famous street photographer, there's an article who's the street photographer, Greg, that gets up in people's faces? He's super famous and he takes photos with the flash and that in New York.
Yeah, I can't
you
remember.
know the one.
Oh,
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, he's in a couple of articles at the moment because he was in an interview the other day and he said he'll be broke by the end of the year because there's no money in photography anymore or whatever. And
Well, there might not be any money in what he's doing.
that was the first thing I thought, but he's like a famous Magnum photographer or whatever, so I didn't want to disrespect him too much. But that was my first thought, was just because people don't see value in what he's doing or whatever, or maybe he needs a lot more money than for travel or whatever he's trying to do.
You don't get into street photography for money.
No, that's true.
Not about that.
That's true.
Not at
But
all.
what are your thoughts? So
That's why I'm coming to you live from my son's bedroom.
Exactly.
Glamorous.
Exactly. What are your thoughts, Russell, on you just said you feel like you could probably get plopped anywhere in the world and you'd figure out a way to use your camera to make a living, maybe not be rich and famous, but to at least make a living with your camera. What would your advice be to people today that are thinking about photography as a career, whether it's progressing from a side hustle into a full-time or something like that? Can it still be done?
Well, I think it can be done. You've got to have some sort of like you're talking about the street photographer. What was his clients before? Like, how did he make money prior? Like, are you taking shots of these people and they're buying prints, or are you shooting for a magazine? You've got to see where it's all going. Like, I mean, most of my income at the start was, I'd say 50% of it was magazines. But then the magazines start dying. Do you just die with it, or do you evolve into something else? Like, I would love just to be shooting surfing for magazines. That would be great, but it's not. It evolves so quickly, and I think personal relationships is still key. Somehow, working on that. Like we did a street walk the other day in one of the schools, and all I was talking to the kids were, because they probably communicate a lot on social. But what about if you want to walk straight into a cafe and talk to the business owner? That's totally different skill level. Yeah. Like, you don't send them a DM. What if you want to start getting shots? So I'm still big on the personal relationship side. And you've got AI coming in. Everyone needs content as a brand. But
yeah,
more content required now. Why? There's a lot of content creators, but it's a tough one.
It's a muddy field now.
Yeah, like I was worried about AI, and I'm like, well, it doesn't really affect AI. Doesn't affect my relationship at the schools. Yeah, I'm lucky to be in that, but that could end this time next year. Could be all over. Who knows? Then I've got to evolve again.
Yeah.
So,
but that doesn't scare you because you've done it enough times now that you could evolve again. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah.
That you're not sitting there going, oh well, if this ends, it's over. I'll just go and get a job or something. You would just go, okay, well, what's the next thing I'm going to do?
Well, look at those people on YouTube. Like, that's time wasting. I'm getting on YouTube to say my life's over because I can't shoot what I'm doing. Well, move on. Like, the world's moving. You have to evolve. Look, 100 years people were shooting film, and then it went to digital, and it's just gone next crazy.
Yeah.
But it is a tough situation because, like, if I had changed anything, I would nearly still be in the fire brigade and still getting paid and shooting photography as a side hustle if it was money. But I left the fire brigade because I found out how quick life can end. Like, life ends in the blink of an eye. Like, if you don't think it does, it does. Like, people's lives change within just one accident. So if you want to do something with your life, go and do it and figure out how to do it. Get off YouTube and stop complaining about how I'm going to make money or whatever it is. My life's over. How are you making money prior? There's so many different ways. And don't be scared to have a second job and still be a photographer. Just call your other job your second job, and it's supporting your photography. Yeah. But I do say to people that are getting into it, like, be smart about it. Like, what happened with the industry, I felt, was it was an influx of so many crew shooting for free. That was the tough part, because then you're competing against people that are creating a level that businesses expect to pay for. Like, even you could be a brand, are you going to employ me for a certain commercial rate, or are you going to get 4 young photographers to shoot the same thing for nothing because you're going to give them a shout out on social media? And that creates a standard. I mean, a blind squirrel will find an acorn. So that's part of it. That was a saying out of the doc. I just love that saying. I have to squeeze it in.
But I mean, that's a really good point. And I think the problem that too many people maybe fall into, and it's hard not to, we're all human, but it's trying to fight against that and saying, oh, these young photographers shouldn't be doing this stuff for free or whatever. But, you know, you put yourself back in the position of a 19-year-old kid who's got a camera and a little bit of talent, who wants to travel to the best surf breaks in the world. Why wouldn't he do it for free? You know, like, it's really hard to stand there and say, oh, you shouldn't do that, when he's going, well, why not? I want it. Yeah. You know, like, and so rather than fighting against it, like you say, just move on, move forward, find a way, like, figure it out. Don't just sit there and say, oh, this isn't fair. Like, you got to see where it's going.
Yeah, I remember when I was shooting a lot of surf, I won't drop names. There was a certain photographer that was shooting on this is like hearsay, went to all the brands. He was going to these spots anyway because he's chasing the circuit, the WSL. Went to all the brands and said, I will work for this price for you guys. I'm going to them anyway. And the price was like reduced by 50, 60, 70%. Yeah. But he got all the brands, right? And he was there anyway. So it wasn't like that's what he was losing. He was actually gaining. If you added it up, he would have made huge money. But what it did, it put a whole heap of photographers out because they were working for one brand at 100, 200 grand a year. And here's old mate that's come in. Now, do you get angry with that guy? Or do you like, holy shit, that guy's smart?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I did. I was like, Christ, that guy. Like, I was working for a brand, I just lost it to him.
Yeah.
He just outsmarted me. Like,
yeah.
So it is a tough one. So, but it's, people are losing. You just gotta evolve with how it goes.
Yeah.
I think it's the best outlook to have, because otherwise the other outlook is letting the world dictate what happens to you, and then you're completely out of control of how you want to move forward, and you're just sort of going, oh, well, this isn't fair, and it happens. I love your perspective is fantastic. Well, he outsmarted me, damn it. Now what?
It either forces you into something else. Or forces you into thinking a different way.
Yeah.
Or you can take it, or like I said, or you can get on YouTube and say, "Oh, my life's over."
Yeah.
There's so many different ways. Like my son, he does video work and he's pretty good, and he's been doing that since he was like 13. That's all he ever wanted to do.
He made a little bit of content for us when you were using the straps with the GFX system. I think if that's...
Yeah, he would have. Yeah.
He made a video. I'm pretty sure it was great.
So I'm trying to get on his bandwagon. He's making more money than all of us. So he at 18, he asked, or just when he was in high school, because he was one of the kids that knew what he wanted to do. Should I go to school? Should I do this? Should I do that? I might just go up there, up to Perth, see if that works for you. And he goes to an open day, and he felt like he wasn't going to learn anything in the first 2 years because he'd been doing it so much. And, it's always evolving. And I'm like, why don't you go up there and just hold such and such as bags, or reach out to people, see what you don't want to step on their toes. And then he did that, and all of a sudden he's getting paid to hold bags, and now he's got his own clients, and he's doing well out of it. And now we're thinking about teaming up as well. And with the oldest son does marketing, it could be good. And the thing with me, I love to shoot video. I just don't want to edit anything.
Yeah.
That's time consuming, and it's another skill, whereas he's got that skill. So it's you could film and just bump it to him. Like I got a couple of commercial jobs from him last year. Normally it was the other way around. Now I'm getting, my dad can shoot photos.
He's got a camera.
It's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
I'm not really, if I can get 2, really good commercial jobs a year, that'll be great. But I can't put the kids out too, because, you don't want to book in a year's worth of school and stuff like that and not turn up. There's enough disappointment in their life without me saying I'm going to do something and not showing up.
Yeah.
So if I can get on his coattails, I should be fine.
That's so good. My dad can shoot photos.
Yeah. Oh, hilarious. Because, video, I that's one thing I wish I'd shot more of. I've been saying it for 10 years, I'm going to do it. And I do it a little bit. Like he employs me to shoot water and stuff like that because he can't swim. Not like me anyway. And it's good. But, it's good. It's good to see, he needs to know how to evolve. Otherwise, what's he going to work for? I mean, you're all right with the weddings, aren't you? Because you still need to be there. You still need to shoot those moments.
Exactly.
Can you see where can it go wrong for you?
Well, I'm not doing weddings much anymore, but my business partner Jim, who's the one with the broken leg, in the weddings, he's still, which I think you met Jim back years ago when we had a beer. He was there.
Was that in Brisbane?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's still shooting weddings a lot. And I've said that to him as well. I'm like, this can't really go anywhere. Obviously, things can change in the wedding industry. People might spend more or less money depending on how much they value photography, and more and more people might come into the industry as cameras get so good that you can just wang it on eye autofocus wide open on a 50mm 1.2 and everything's in focus and looks good, and the cameras are so amazing now. What we used to do 8 years ago, which we thought was really clever, now you don't, you can just happens. Like we used to shoot everything wide open and we're like, oh, we got some in focus, this is awesome. Now it's just everything's in focus. But AI can't replace it. AI cannot replace a wedding photography. I mean, there's AI headshots and stuff now that people are saying are great. Even those look a bit weird. But no one's going to want a fake wedding photo. And if they do, that's a different world that isn't a world I probably want to play in. Maybe that will be a thing, like AI wedding photos for people that would rather it look perfect in their mind than real. But there's always going to be people that want real. So I don't think that's really a risk on that side of things. But that being said, Jim's recently got into boudoir photography as a second sort of style. It was something he was very interested in as well. It wasn't like purely a business, hey, this will make extra money kind of thing. But I think growing a second arm of a business is always a smart idea, just to experiment, slightly diversify, so you're not just everything's in one industry basket like weddings or whatever. I don't know.
But you're as you know, like with the wedding photography, because I've done a lot as well. Most of your work's coming because of your relationships.
100%.
Like all the time. Like you'll get the occasional one, but when you're in the mode, you shoot a wedding, you're getting two more from it, from the bridesmaids, people that are there, and they're actually not getting you because you're a good photographer. It's because of your personal How many times you're at a wedding and they're like, "Oh, have you got a card? Your photos are fantastic." Well, they haven't even seen them. It's just how you are around the people, and all of a sudden you're getting more work and you're in the flow, and it's so good. And it's just how you are with. If you're a dick, it's they're not like this. They're gonna see the photographer and go, "Jesus Christ, what a pain in the ass this guy is."
Yeah.
And he won't be able to get employed.
That's all we ever did. Obviously, we made sure our photos were as good as what we could do, but we were friendly. We worked our ass off on the day. Like, we made sure we were like, you never stand around on your phone or anything like that. You're working, and we would do anything if they need us to take rubbish out or carry eskies, carry chairs, anything. We would just do anything. Give someone a ride somewhere. Like, it didn't matter what it was. Like, we're a photographer, and we wanted to make sure nothing got in the way of the photos. But other than that, it wouldn't matter if they said, "Oh, we need you to mow the lawns before the ceremony." We'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay, we should be able to fit that. Like, we got time. Yeah, sweet. Where's the mower?" You know, like, you do anything.
That's why the photos are so special to them, because of their personal relationships.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so good.
The parents come up to you exactly like you say at the end of the night, and the parents of the bride or the groom would be like, "Oh wow, you've done such an amazing job. You guys are great photographers." And we'd be like, "Yeah, we might have taken no photos. You don't even know. Like, you've got no idea if we've taken photos or not, but you're already telling us we did a great job."
Yeah.
And that's how the business got built, for sure. I think. Yeah, there's still plenty of opportunity for people to do that kind of work and build a business around it. AI is not going to steal that.
Well, what about you, Greg? How with the street photography work?
Yep.
How do you see it?
Well, AI is definitely not going to steal it.
No.
Although I will say this about AI, I'm concerned about it, but I think it'll be a phase. I don't think it will last. There'll always be a market for it, and there'll always be people who prefer it. But I think it will be another one of those phases that threatened our industry, like when smartphones came in. Everyone thought, "Oh, well, photography's dead. Everyone's got a camera," you know. And while smartphone photography can be amazing, it's not the same, and it never will be. But I think the challenge that I see with AI, and I think I talked last week with the lads on the podcast about, I was asked to review a piece of software that basically all you do is you take a selfie with your smartphone, you drop the image file onto your computer, and you can put yourself in any scenario you want. You can make yourself look glamorous. You can make yourself, and you can have yourself posing with an AI girlfriend. You can, I didn't do it.
I was going to say,
and Sasha, if you're watching, it never happened.
Does it blur out nudity, or can you go?
No. You can put yourself in lingerie. Like, it's the full gamut. You could create boudoir shots. You could have naughty Santa shots. You could have, like, my concern with AI photography, I'll get to the street stuff in a minute, but we're seeing examples of it, especially in the American political scene, which I don't really want to get into. But, there's been reports of it here in Australia of kids using it in schools to put teachers and predominantly female classmates in compromising images. There's a whole bunch of work that needs to be done around how do we manage this? How do we certify that it's not real?
Wow.
But I think that the horse has already bolted. The government, as always, is very slow to act on this sort of stuff because they don't see it as a threat. But until it starts knocking on their door, they're not going to do a lot about it. But there has been examples of that happening. And it's serious stuff. And what's that? Revenge porn. People are using the video AI, there's a lot of disturbing factors to it. But I think it's a phase and it will pass. And I know that some camera brands are trying to work on, and Fuji is one of the leaders in this. Justin, not Canon.
Along with Leica
in creating the certification programs around authenticating photos as being real, shot with the camera and the lens by a human, which I think is it's a step in the right direction. For me, street photography, I never took it up for money. It was therapy for me to overcome grief and loss and get back into the world. But I needed, I wanted to support my photography. I did have gas and FOMO for a very long time. And I wanted to support my photography, my art and my passion. And so I did have to diversify. I started doing friends for weddings, and then I got asked to do other people's events and parties and kids' parties, and but I kept it very low key. And I think I didn't go full, Greg the wedding photographer, because it didn't suit me. I didn't want to become that person, but a lot of it was through relationship. A lot of every job that I did that was a paid gig was through someone I know, or someone that, a friend of a friend of a friend. And so it would be more about, for me, the photography experiences that when I shot those paid gigs, it was about, I was involved in the whole experience. I was there from when they were setting up and, introducing myself to people, and people saying, "Oh, so are you a friend of the bride or the groom?" So, actually, I'm the photographer. And I do know the bride, and I've just met the groom today. And, so I had to diversify to earn some money to fund my gas. And then that's when writing sort of came into it. So after my first trip to Japan, where I predominantly shot street, because it's such an incredible place to shoot street photography. And I started writing about my experiences, and that's when ShotKit picked me up, when Mark, who's actually joining us next week on the show, that's when ShotKit reached out and said, "We'd like your writing. Are you keen on doing a couple of articles?" Because I was mostly writing about Fujifilm gear at the time. And like you, I was starting out with XT1s and XT2s and that sort of thing. And so that became an extension of my creative side, was to write about my processes and my experiences and the outcomes. And it wasn't always about the actual image itself. It was more about the journey to when I took that shot, and even the process afterwards of how I turned that shot into something that I was proud of, and so it's, for me now, I'm now writing for Justin, obviously, for Lucky Straps, part of the team there, which I'm eternally grateful for. And I still write for ShotKit. And it's enough to sustain me. I've got a sugar mummy of a partner, so that's always helpful. But I've got a really nice balance between, doing the work stuff, the writing, doing the odd, mostly free, but sometimes paid gig for people, and writing content about photography. I just get to talk about the thing I love the most.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think unless you're prepared to commit wholeheartedly and, and be prepared to evolve with the change in the environment and in the industry, you've got to be able to diversify. And I think having, more than one stream, and in one of Nev's comments, he talked about how, he still works his day job 3 days a week, but he does his photography the rest of the time, and he calls himself a photographer, and he has a day job that supports him in his pursuit of chasing the light. And I think that's a really good attitude to have, like you said, Russell. Even if you do have to work 2 jobs, still call yourself a photographer, still have that mindset, still pursue that.
Yeah, it's like it's how you look at it, isn't it? It's like, are you a professional? Was I a professional photographer when I was in the fire brigade? I'd still say I was a professional photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people go, "Well, you're a professional fireman as well." I'm like, yeah, but it's not what you do full time. Like, I know professional photographers that shouldn't be calling themselves professional, and they're full time. Like, that's a different word. Like, I just feel, professional photography is how you act, and that kind of thing. Instead of yes, I'm a full-time photographer now, but I still call myself professional, just the way I am with photography.
Yeah.
But I was a professional firefighter as well at the same time. It's not drama.
Yeah. I think
it's a weird one.
Yeah, I think you can only call yourself a professional photographer once other people start calling you that. I don't think it's for you to decide necessarily.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, you know, when people start introducing you, oh, this is, you know, Justin shoots Canon, but he is a professional photographer. That's when you know. A couple of quick comments from the group. A bit earlier on, Digifrog said, love the story of the foundation. Brilliant, Russell. Must be very rewarding working with the kids. Keep it up. And I think we can all agree that that's incredibly inspirational to hear. From old mate Nev, alumni of the show. Where was that? Quick question, Russell. Are you a self-taught photographer, or did you study photography in your former years?
No, I've never even done art. Like, I left school at before year 10. Like, just picked up the camera and thought it'd be easy, and soon realised that when you get your slides back, that they look like a checkerboard. You got a little bit to learn, like either too white or too dark, and stuff like that. So it was more self-taught, but like the form of photography I was in was more action-packed, being in the water. So I already had that skill, which was nice. But yeah, definitely self-taught, but and always learning for sure.
Yeah. Never stop. And another comment from Nev. It's an interesting conversation, as I feel many photographers are very introverted, and that can be a challenge for them. I'm even thinking of helping other photographers jump through that. And I agree, Nev. I mean, I'm a very introverted person. I'm not very outgoing, and you know, and I think that's another reason why I didn't go down the pro, you know, full-time photography, commercial or wedding or whatever it was. I wanted to decide what I wanted to shoot and who I wanted to shoot for. But it is a challenge for a lot of people, you know, and even going on photo walks, I see, you know, recently did a photo walk where Charlie, who's been on the show from Fujifilm, joined us. We went on a photo walk a little earlier on in the year, and with a camera store in Melbourne, and they had hired 2 models to work, you know, to pose while we're on the street and take some shots. And none of the photographers had the confidence to ask the models how to pose. And I'm, like I said, I consider myself to be introverted, and I had to speak up and sort of say, okay, guys, let's, you know, extend your neck, push out your jawline a little, tilt your head slightly, and sort of help the others get into that mindset. But there is a lot of, I think there's a lot that could be done to help other photographers around that, and things like workshops and, you know, joining a photography community. And
yeah, I was just saying, like, when I first started doing weddings, I was second shooting. There's only like 2 wedding photographers in Margs at that time, so it was years ago. It's like 100 now, but I'm very introverted. Like, it's like I knew that when I started shooting weddings, if I needed to get some shots I wanted to get, I had to learn how to talk. I actually had to be a little, and so it was a skill I had to learn. And so what I did is, for 3 months, I forced myself to talk to one stranger every day.
Really?
And yeah, for 3 months in a row.
Wow.
And how to make conversation and read books on how to do that. Like, you can't just go, oh, the weather's good. That's just, that's just like an endless conversation, that kind of thing. And this is what I was saying with the kids the other day in the, when we did the street walk. That's what I was teaching the kids.
Yep.
Because they're like, I'm like, you need to be able to do this to get what you want. You're not going to, it's tough, and it's not, it comes naturally to some people, and then I have to work on it. It's something I've had to really work on, and that really helped me. And now I feel like I'm really good at it. Like, my wife gets annoyed. Like, well, I'll start speaking to, like, I'll say to her, I'm going to do that thing, and she's like, don't do that. Then we'll be in Sydney, and I'll talk to 20 people going down the street, find out their story. But you got to be actually interested as well.
Yeah.
And it's just a skill level. It's just a part of the photography skill. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually do podcasts. I wouldn't do anything. I mean, I do a couple of talks with Shannon Worrell, and this is the scariest thing I'd ever done. Like, being up in front of people doing a keynote. Like, every time we go to do one, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm so scared. But you only get good at it if you keep doing it.
Yeah,
That's exactly it. It's funny that, it's so cool that you were that aware that you were like, all right, I'm going to practice this every day because I know that this is a skill that I need. I think it's that awareness that is the difference,
It's easy to figure out when you get sent to the guys. As a second shooter, you get sent to where the guys are.
Oh, yeah.
And you go in, and you're just like a stunned mullet. Like, you don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, you got to break it down, have a bit of fun with them. You get the mood going or whatever. It's it's funny you say that about the keynotes because that terrifies me, that sort of stuff, for sure. And I'm comfortable talking to people. I'm definitely an introvert, but I ended up in a couple of sales jobs in my earlier years before I was a professional photographer. I was selling cars and selling boats, and without those,
you didn't say you were selling cars.
At some point, I was, yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot about a person.
I was the worst car salesman ever because people would come in and they'd be like, "So tell me about the Mazda 3," and I would be like, "How have you not already researched this yourself? Like, everything you need to know about this car is already on the internet. Like, I'll just put you in you take it for a test drive. That's all you need to do, really, right? What do you want me to tell you?"
Yeah.
So I was a terrible car salesman. I really wasn't. I was fine. But those years and being around the people that were good at that job definitely changed me from being completely introverted to the point where I didn't even like ringing people on the phone. I wouldn't want to ring and order fish and chips back. That was a thing, people back in the day. You have to ring to order fish and chips. You didn't just do it on the internet. Yeah. And I didn't like doing shit like that when I was younger. And then obviously you go through those jobs for 5 or 6 years and you come out a completely changed person, and it's no problem to talk to anyone about anything. But giving a talk on stage still terrifies the shit out of me. And I was listening to someone the other day, this famous internet guy called Alex Hormozy, who's actually very, very smart when it comes to business. And he was talking to someone about the fear of public speaking. And he said it's actually it's not a fear of public speaking, it's a fear of making a mistake because you're underprepared. And he said if you prepare and practice, if you do your talk 100 times into the mirror or into a camera and watch it back and prepare and rewrite it and do it again, he said that fear will go away. And I was like, that's a good point, because I've done a few talks and I've never put proper preparation into it. I might have like put some slides together or something like that, but I didn't stand and practice it or anything. I've never practiced public speaking. And I was like, it's probably a fair point to just, you can't just expect to be good at something you've never worked on, when it doesn't come naturally to me. It's like if I want to try and not be scared of it, I probably got to practice it a bit. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Have you ever practiced, Russell, your public speaking stuff, or you're confident enough to?
Yeah, we had someone help us with the keynote itself. And then for me, it is preparation's definitely key. It's like preparation for anything's key, but it's also the fear of, like, I always say I don't really care what people think of me, but you do. Like when you're on the stage, you're like, if I stuff up, what do people think? That's what you kind of get scared of. But with my one, like Shannon always starts. So we're like a duo. So that's handy for me. I don't know if I could do it myself yet. I've done a lot on my own photography wise, so I probably could, but this certain talk we do, I definitely couldn't do it on my own. And I feel like if you prepare for my first segment, what I talk about why I left the fire brigade, it's if I get that right, the talk goes good, and I'm not as nervous once you get going, because I feel like I nailed it. It felt good. Yeah. And but if you bumbled your way through it, you could freak out. I mean, the first time we ever did one, the company got us to do a talk to like 20 executive mine workers, and we've never even done a talk, right? And they were going for a contract, and the lady before us was a brain surgeon. And I was listening to her talk, and I'm like, oh my God, I nearly couldn't do it, the talk.
Yeah.
I was so scared. Scaredest I've ever been.
Wow.
When I got up, it was this small area, but it wasn't like you're right on stage. I had to put my hand on my leg because I felt like it was shaking so much.
Man.
And then because ours are quite personal, our talks, and Shannon, he's pretty good with it, and I felt like I nearly started breaking down, like having a few tears because I mentally went back there. Then it finished, and I thought, my God, that was the worst thing I'd ever done. I'm not doing it. I'm never doing it again. But then we started getting feedback, and people like, oh, that's happened to me, like part of the talk. And they really love what we're doing. They employed us to go up to the mines for 7 days straight.
Wow. Wow.
It's Mental Health Week.
Yep.
I said, oh, look, the lady before us was, no, we'll get that lady in for the executives in a board meeting, but the guys won't even be able to. It's not on their level. We're just like two Aussies that are talking story. Yeah. And so then it eventually got a little easier and a little easier. But if I have to do a talk next week, I'd be on the way up. I'd be thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, to be freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's, oh man. I can't believe it. That's terrifying. Meanwhile, you'll swim out to the ride or
so much easier. We say that. We say that when we did a talk 2 weeks ago at the Burswood, which is a big fun, for 400 school principals and vice principals.
Holy.
Yeah. And we were the last ones off, and they had I think they had Justin Langer, the Australian cricketer, in the morning. You've got this kind of fear of mate, the guys played for Australia. Me and Shannon, we haven't done anything. We've done nothing. Just two Aussies that got off the street. But it did. It felt like it went well. But then some of the things when people come up to you afterwards, and it's super rewarding. So you got to remind yourself, if one person goes and gets help or whatever it is, you've done your job.
Yeah.
It's not about you in the end anyway.
Yep.
But it's scary times. But I would prefer to be at home, do just me and the wife, and that's it.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's the comfort zone.
Most definitely.
That's the zone you don't grow in, the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yep. Very
true indeed. Just looking at the time, I think we might jump into a bit of news.
Yeah, we probably should. I think there's a couple of quick comments in there while you're bringing up the news. I can quickly cover off that Jason said he's happily an unprofessional photographer.
Nice.
As long as it's fun, enjoyable, the title is unimportant. And what else did I spot in here? Oh yeah, that's right. It was Bruce Gilden that said that he's going to be broke by the end of the year. And he's the street photographer that gets up in people's faces and takes photos without their permission, kind of thing. And,
I'd find that difficult to do. It's probably an art form of his, but you're not even learning about the person that you're getting a shot of.
No, it's a bit different, isn't it?
How was Bruce making money prior?
I think he was selling his prints.
Yeah,
because of the New York aesthetic and the shop appearance of people. People found it intriguing and artistic.
I think he's almost 80. So
they're unbelievable shots. I've seen. It's incredible work.
Yeah. But the world has changed. The world's become more private and more. We've all retreated a little bit, given that the world's gone mad. And I think the world's changed. That's not as appealing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to public speaking, Yelena says practice, practice, practice. Yelena's a gym coach, so she practiced every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything, though. You're not going to get better without doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's jump to the news.
What news have we got?
Well, this one
Fujifilm brought out any new cameras?
No, not Fujifilm, but Vitrox. Is that how you say it? Viltrox? Let me bring it up. Vitrox shows off its massive $100,000 medium format 10 times zoom lens.
What?
For GFX.
Jesus.
420 to 42 to 420 mil.
You swim with that, Russell?
I would if they give me one. But Jesus, like, how did?
I mean, look at this. That's a
Why
GFX.
is it so expensive?
It is a GFX.
Well, it's a T aperture, so it's more precise. But even that's debatable. It's a cine quality lens.
Yeah, cinema lens. Yeah.
So you put the T in front of the aperture, and all of a sudden it's 10 times the price. But still, $100,000. And look at, I mean, that's a GFX, probably a 100S on the back.
Yeah,
which is not a small camera, and that thing's massive.
I wonder who is that for?
Motorsports, photographers, or cinematographers.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
You'd need big budget for that. You'd have to be
like
high-end docos and movies, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like 100 grand.
Yeah, but 42, but 420. If you drop a teleconverter on that, well, sky's the limit.
I mean, really, are people in that could afford that, are they going to use that lens with a GFX? They're going to be using Reds and stuff, aren't they?
That's what I was wondering. Well, but Reds aren't medium format, are they?
No, this is being built for GFX mount, and I think Hasselblad, from what I saw. I read another article about it. Hasselblad X2D. So this is not for cine cameras. I mean, having said that, GFX, the 100S Mark II, has some pretty impressive cinema capabilities. But if we're looking at cinema cameras, that's a lovely segue there.
Well done.
Thank you, Russell. There's another Speaking of cinema, sorry guys, a bit slow on the clicks. Blackmagic has announced an impressive Ursa Cine 17K camera.
It's not enough.
17K.
Until it's at 20K, I'm not even interested.
I mean, it is a bit of a beast.
Wow.
17K.
I'm going to need
16 stops of dynamic range. They've only just announced the pricing, so I don't think it's out yet. Just trying to find a bit more info on it.
Wow.
Do they list the price?
Which one did my son just ordered one?
A Blackmagic.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just trying to find the price. Oh, there we go. 30 grand. That's
30
US.
grand. That's, I mean, 17K. Like,
I don't know if it's that one though.
Geez, you'd need to.
His one's 12K.
Oof, that's still outrageous.
Yeah.
Blackmagic's a Aussie-owned company, isn't it? Pretty sure
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What
that
brand?
lens on that camera is probably worth the same amount.
That's what I was going to say. What brand
yeah.
is that lens, Greg? That's
It's
a
a
nice
Leica.
looking lens. It is a Leica, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a Leica.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
that
Fujifilm
lens is-
on that one.
Oh, whatever. Last little bit of news, which I think is interesting because there's been a lot of. We could probably dedicate a whole nother show to it on a whole nother channel. Let me just find my place, guys. Sorry. And one more. The drone photographers and videographers out there, in case you missed it, the US Congress has banned DJI drones. It's yet to pass.
Wow.
It's yet to pass the Senate. Can't remember how American politics works because they're made by China, and they need internet connectivity to operate.
Right.
And because they're a Bluetooth and a Wi-Fi enabled device that comes from China, the US government is fearful of it.
Now, I was under the impression, though, that this ban was only going to be relevant to like government departments purchasing them, not to the average consumer.
No, this is
everybody.
Only DJI drones.
At this point, yeah. But they're also talking about banning Chinese-made cars, anything that basically has connectivity, because you know, China is the new Russia for the American people. They always need to have a villain to justify their budgets.
Wow.
So yeah, so it hasn't been fully passed. But
That won't get passed, surely.
I don't know.
That'd be a big
They're
drop
pretty-
in market for them.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
it would
about
be.
what about existing owners? What would happen?
No, I'm pretty sure from what I read that if you've already got one, well, that's fine.
Okay.
For at least now, DJI drones, old and new, are still legally usable in the United States.
Could take months or longer. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, they're really against Chinese tech at the moment because, you know, got to be fearful of someone.
Well, I am scared as to how fast DJI are getting good at shit. They've just released e mountain bikes, their specs, and I've seen one in the flesh, but we haven't. We'll be testing it. I do, Russ. I do shoot for a mountain bike publication. The tech editors in my town, so all the new bikes and stuff that come out, I do photo and video with him, which is super fun. It's the best job in the world. We just go mountain biking and I take photos and video. It's sweet. But yeah, I've seen this bike, and so like they've used all of their drone battery tech and drone motor tech. And they're like, even the screen on the bike is actually the same screen out of their action cameras. So it's like fully waterproof, touch responsive and all that sort of stuff. So subject to our first actual reviews and testing, this bike has leapfrogged in terms of its battery and motor tech, everything on the market. It's leapfrogged. It's like bigger battery, more powerful motor, lighter weight, all of that sort of stuff, more connectivity and everything. And it's like, geez, they're getting scary good at innovation in a brand. Like we didn't even who would have guessed DJI would go, oh no, let's do bikes now. You know, it doesn't even make sense.
I saw a video on I have to try and find it one day on Instagram of a new bike tech that's the bike is self-leveling.
Ah.
So
so you can't fall off.
So yeah, like it kind of works like a gimbal, like it kind of brings you back in line. So it uses like camera tech to know that you're actually, and probably, you know, what do you call it, gyroscope mechanism, whatever they use.
Yeah.
To know that you're going at a dangerous angle, and it kind of rights you a bit. It kind of aids you in that process.
Oh, it's horrible.
We're just one step away from self-riding bikes.
And then you don't even get on the bike.
Just sit there.
Just let it go.
Don't need pedals.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, hopefully DJI doesn't get banned over here because I've got 2 drones. Do you shoot drone, Russell?
Yeah, I've got a drone. Yeah, all the prints I've got in here are all out of a chopper though. I still love doing that.
That's cool.
I've spoke about like normally someone asks me a drone question and I write them off. Like I'm just not like I've got one. I love what they do, but you know anything you can learn in one day is actually not that. It's not a skill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, and that sort of rubs people up on the wrong way. You know, I've got one. I love it as a package, but when you see a photo competition and a drone shot wins, compared to like someone that learned how to climb up a mountain, it took 7 years to be able to get in position to take a sunrise shot.
Yeah,
for me, that is just not even a comparison. Like one's got a skill and they've got a number of skills to get the shot, and the other one is just got a skill that you learn in a day. So they shouldn't be in the same genre. And
that's a fair point.
It's just you know, that's just my opinion, of course. Even though I've got one and I love it. It's and they've taken photography to a whole new level for sure.
Yeah.
When you're doing comparisons, you've really got to look into how that shot was captured, and I feel like people don't do that, even including photo editors.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess to argue the other side of the point, maybe not for a photo competition, but in terms of just like editors and things like that, at the end of the day, from the other side, you could look at it and go, well, does it matter how it was made? Just objectively compare this photo to that photo. You can look at it that way. But certainly, yeah, for photo competitions and things like that, it does start to get weird if it's really easy to just fly a drone up over a spot versus, I guess, searching. Because the other hard thing is image quality wise, a drone still can't compete with any modern camera, even a Fujifilm. Yeah. See what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
But when you're doing an online photo competition that only gets judged at essentially, screen resolution, a drone looks fine. A drone looks the same as a, whatever camera. But if
they take beautiful shots, I reckon. I've got the new one. It does it's amazing. You can print pretty big with it.
Yeah.
For sure. And it looks good. But I look back at my work and it's the story behind the shot or the journey. It's not the end result, it's the journey to get the shot.
Yeah.
And if there's no journey, the shot's not that important.
Yeah.
And I think it's also that, were you really present, or were you sitting on a park bench 500 meters away?
Yeah.
When you were flying the drone, when you were piloting the drone, were you really present for the shot?
Yeah.
Or did you just pluck a high res image out of 4K video? So it's there's a whole bunch of stuff around that. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the DJI ban in the US, especially like for small cinema companies and even some of the big Hollywood who would trust and use the big DJI rigs, the pro rigs.
Oh yeah.
How that's going to change their industry.
That new Inspire or whatever it is, that thing's epic. I wanted one of them. I just had no reason to own it and wouldn't be able to fly it because I don't have any of those skills. But when I saw the video when that thing come out, that thing's insane. Like, proper. And that's what. Have you heard the rumors they're talking about DJI making a camera, like a full frame or medium format still?
Yep.
It's rumbling.
But there's also like the aside from the photography side of stuff, DJI make a whole bunch of agricultural drones.
Yeah.
That scan fields for pests and crop quality and crop quantity and even they use drones for pesticide and stock control and it's a huge
big ones.
Yeah,
that's what the DJI product manager for the bikes was saying on this video. Someone had said, why would you get into the bike market and why would consumers trust you because this is your first ever bike or whatever? And the guy was like, dude, this motor and battery pack is nothing compared to our agricultural drones. Like, he's like, this was easy.
Yeah.
It's like, this is smaller and easier. He said, when it doesn't have to fly, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fair point.
Because they also make the software that, reads the 3D map. Like your whole property and so it knows where every tree is,
I was watching there's this YouTuber that cruises around the US going into weird towns and stuff like that and, some of the areas affected by drug use and all that sort of stuff. I think his name's Peter Santinello. Gets huge views on these videos where he just strolls around and meets people and finds out the story of the town. And he did a ride along with some police in the US and they were using DJI drones for like rescue and support and stuff like that. Because I saw it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I know the two models of those drones they're using. And this was in the US. So like they're being used by government departments currently.
Yeah.
And they might get banned. Like they were training on them.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like at the next minute, they're like, okay, all that training, delete all of that, throw out all this equipment.
Well, like Jason's just dropped a comment saying, what it will do potentially is create an opening for another company to step into the breach if DJI is gone. But is anyone else within 2 or 3 generations of DJI tech?
Yeah.
And I don't think they are.
Probably not. Not anyone that I know of. There's that Autel one or whatever it is. I don't know.
In that gig, but interesting to see what will happen. Nev has said, agree on the journey. Where does the comment go? Agree on the journey. It's a storytelling aspect of being present, but Americans ban drones, but guns are still legal. Let's not go there.
Imagine drones with guns on them.
I did see completely
They'd be
different thing,
legal
but speaking
still.
of that, I think it was in San Francisco, the police are using those Boston robotic dog drones.
No.
With the one with the kind of the hand that can open doors, like the arm, and they use that to go in where there was a suspected shooter in a building, and completely off photography here, but they used that in place of sending in a person.
Yeah.
To actually try and assess the situation. And I mean, police force has been using robots for years, but it's a whole new level when this thing knows to look for a doorknob, open the door, go in.
Yeah. Have you seen those dog robots, Russell?
Nah.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I don't get online that much.
You'll have to Google them at some point. It's the creepiest thing you've ever seen.
Because there was also, completely off topic, but there was a show on Netflix, Black Mirror, bit of a sci-fi.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an episode called Metalhead, and it was about those exact dogs going a bit rogue and wiping out humanity. Kind of Terminator style stuff. Anyway, we are off topic, and we are over time.
We are off topic and over time.
Let me wrap up first and foremost by saying a huge thank you to you, Russell. Tremendous to hear your story. Very inspirational, very humble too, I will add. And I'm sure that those that are watching along and have watched and will watch really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. On behalf of Lucky, Straps and Justin and I, and Jim, who's not present. But thanks. We really appreciate it, mate. Great to have you on board.
No, thanks for having me. It's such an effort being able to do a podcast from your guys' point of view. Such a good skill too.
No, I appreciate it. We're what are we, 30 something episodes
31.
in, and we're finally getting a rhythm. We had a big gap for a while because you're right, it's not easy to keep it rolling, but Greg's taken over the reins of finding guests, and that's certainly made things a lot easier to keep it cruising along. And
they are all Fuji shooters, but
they are. I can't do anything about that. Doing it live makes a big difference too, because then it's now we're done. So it's
Have you guys heard of? Here's just a name off the top of my head, who's got a pretty good story. Is Crystal Wright?
Yes, I would love to have Crystal Wright on the show.
One of my favourite photographers.
Guess what equipment she shoots with, Greg?
Canon.
Leica. She was Canon. No, she's a Leica, like a Leica ambassador now. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I love following some of her stuff. She had a bit of a play around with what's it called? Storm photography, storm chasing, stuff like that.
She'll say it how it is as well. She doesn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
which is what I like. It's all it's the raw emotion about it. It's and she's very good. And for her to get where she has, it takes amazing. A lot of grit.
Yep. Well, her
shots and go, that's the kind of thing I was talking about. I wish I could take that shot, and I know I can't. So it's that kind of she's got a lot of grit.
That's the perfect example of I might be able to fly a drone up to a similar spot to where she takes those photos. She freaking climbs up there, like with gear.
We need to get the shot.
Yeah. She's. Yeah, I've watched a few videos on her, but we got to try and get her on. We just need to make this podcast be more famous first. So like and subscribe, people. Where should people follow you, Russell? Instagram's the best spot, or are you doing?
On Insta, or that's fine. Yeah. I still try to answer everyone that sends me questions and stuff like that on social. Yeah. So
Yelena and I are hoping to travel to WA in our van, hopefully early next year sometime. So we'll if we are, we'll make sure we come and visit the gallery.
Sure. No, it'll be good. We'll go for a shoot somewhere.
Oh, that would be cool.
Can I be a third wheel?
Yeah.
Jump in the van, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be nice and snug. We will bring the show to a close. Russell, thanks once again. Before we do finish up, what are your photography plans this weekend, if any?
Me? I think I'm in the gallery. My wife and daughter are going to Sydney. My daughter's doing design school over there, so she's doing a stint over there. So I'm stuck in the gallery. I can't still lift my right arm, so I can't do too much photography. If the surf's okay, I can get a few little point and shoots from the shoreline, maybe. But it's torturous because I'd rather be surfing. But I've basically got a couple of weeks off from the foundation because of school holidays, being in here in the gallery. So if people come in, I'll be here chatting away.
Nice.
Introverted self, trying to learn new skills.
Nice one. Justin, what have you got on?
What do we got this weekend? Not much, really. Yelena and I are heading away for the weekend. Quiet little getaway. We take a camera, maybe film a little video or something, but otherwise, no, not much. Right.
Very nice.
You?
As for me, what have I got on? It's AFL weekend here, so there's always lots of people around. I might hit the city up on Friday. I think the Australian Association of Street Photographers Inc. are doing a photo walk. I might join them on Friday for the parade. It's always a good time to do some street work. People are elated and there's a lot going on and all of that sort of stuff, as much as I don't enjoy football. I'm not ashamed to say. So that'll be me.
Cool.
Thanks,
on that
lads.
note, thanks once again, Russell.
Thanks, Russell.
And maybe down the track we'll have you on again to chat more about
I
philosophy of
don't
photography.
think people won't want to hear me twice, I'll tell you that.
I bet you they will.
You'd be surprised.
That's the whole story in a couple of hours.
All right. Well, look, on that note, on behalf of Lucky Camera Straps, this has been the Camera Life Podcast, episode 31. Thanks to everyone who's been commenting and following along. And we'll see you next week. We've got Mark Condon joining us, who is CEO of shotkit.com. He's my other boss. And it's going to be a bit scary, me having both my bosses on a video call.
You have to be nice.
I haven't thought this through. All right. Well, we'll see you next week for my crucifixion. Until then, get out and shoot, chase the light. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
See you.